Welcome to Grit, the Real Estate Growth Mindset podcast, hosted by Brian Charlesworth, founder of Sisu. Sisu provides growth automation software for real estate. You'll hear stories from real estate thought and technology leaders, team owners, and brokers on how they grew their business in a rapidly changing industry. You'll learn how to transform your brokerage and teams into a high-performing and analytics-driven business so you have a new, durable, competitive advantage against disruption in your market. So let's get right into it.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Grit podcast. Today, I'm super excited. I have one of our Sisu team owners and her operations manager. I guess that's what you are, Alex. So I'm here today with Shoshana Socher and Alex Ribb. And they are from the Socher Team in, I guess, well, what cities are you guys actually in?
We're in Cleveland.
In the Cleveland area. So I know you guys have certain cities that you were like the number one producer in. So I actually want to dive into that today. But geez, you guys have been working with Sisu now for how long?
Almost 2 years, I'd say, close to 2 years.
Okay.
Year and a half.
So they've been with us for almost 2 years at Sisu, and just excited to have them on. For those of you who don't know, I am the founder and CEO of Sisu, which is the real estate growth automation software. And welcome back to this week's episode of the Grit podcast, everyone. So starting off, why don't you guys just give us a little bit of the background on your team? I mean, how long has your team even been around?
So I've been licensed for pushing 15 years. My son, who's not on this podcast today, is my business partner. He's been working with me for about 10 years. He's 29. He started when he was 19. Like a lot of people who are in real estate, came right out of high school, decided he wanted to go into business. And a year after he was out, just got his real estate license and dove right in. So we've been business partners ever since in this business and other businesses that we run as well. And I could say that we really started to grow a team. Probably, Alex, we've been working together for
2017, 2018. Yeah.
Really started to grow the team around then. And we're at 6 licenses at the moment.
So you really just started a team maybe 2.5, maybe 3 years ago. And
Proper.
So about 3 years ago, and you said you have 6 agents today?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, great. So maybe let's talk about your production a little bit. I know you guys had your number one year last year. I know you did over 150 transactions. What was the exact amount? I know you know your exact counts, Shoshana. So
I'll jump in. Okay, we were at 166 transactions. 73 of those were seller sides, so we're a little bit buyer heavy. And we were at 42.5 million, give or take. So that puts us at our average price point of about $250,000.
Okay. So congratulations on your top year and 6 agents. How many agents did you have before this year? Did you recruit this year, or did you just really focus on the business this year?
You know, the agent count has ebbed and flowed a little bit with some different things. And I'm going to say we did that volume with 6 agents just because of some people that came, some people that left. Yeah. Alex, would you agree with that about?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, the bulk of the year was with 6 agents in full production. Yeah.
And I know that area very well. When I started working in real estate with my wife, she was at about that same size. I think she had 5 agents. So. And
I think, is that a Kyrie Cavs jersey behind you? Is that?
Yes, that is a Kyrie Cavs jersey behind me. It's signed. He gave it to my son along with his little wristband and his arm sleeve and, whatever else. So
I've always thought it was. I had to check.
Absolutely, it is. So yeah, I used to take my son to a lot of the Jazz games, and we'd always sit right next to the visitors bench. And so anyway, he was able to get all kinds of jerseys because he would always wear the point guard's jersey from the other team,
That's funny.
I love that.
So anyway, fun story, and not to divert, but they actually called him down. They actually said, "What's your name?" And he goes, "Duke." And they said, "Oh, well, Kyrie went to Duke." He goes, "Yeah, I know that." And they go, "Why don't you come down here and sit on the bench during warmups?" So they brought him down, and he was sitting there on the bench next to Tristan Thompson. And anyway, It was kind of a fun story. I've got pictures of
fun.
it and stuff.
I love it.
But jumping back into real estate, I know the stage that you're in, and it's fun to watch. You're just exceeding your growth, where you've gone from 100 to now 160 transactions, and I think you're going to experience tremendous growth over the next few years. And part of that's going to be that you're going to start recruiting and realize that that's going to make a big difference in your business. But just on the production side, what have you guys been doing to produce at a higher level? Because you've had the same number of agents. Is it just that the market was up this year in 2020? I mean, everyone was going into depression in March and April, but since then, the market, I think, has been up. Is that how it's been in Cleveland as well?
Definitely the market is up. One thing that really changed our business, really changed our business for the much better, actually, was COVID. And, like a lot of people, I spent the first 2 weeks pretty freaked out, not sure, during lockdown, oh my God, what are we going to do? And, we just made it very firm. And when I say we, I'm talking about my son and myself as kind of decision makers, ultimately with a lot of input from Alex as well. Not only are we on our morning calls every morning at 8:30, and funny thing, when you're at home, nobody misses. And, unlike when we were in the office before in our stand-up meetings, oh, so-and-so's in here, somebody's running late, oh, traffic, blah, blah. Nobody was ever late or missed. And we set a firm standard of 100 dials a day. We use Commission Sync, so through our Commission Sync database. And notice a tremendous change. Not that there's any magic around 100 dials, because obviously one needs to have the conversations in order to talk to people, and dialing in and of itself is not sufficient. However, by setting a team standard of 100 dials a day, which then equals the following week, let's say if you hit your 500 dials, equals 2 hours of triple line dialing in Mojo, we just saw the trajectory of every agent really grow, because their pipeline grew that much more substantial.
So everyone made the commitment. I'm going to prospect on the Mojo dialer for 2 hours a day.
Oh, I made the commitment for them. It's a single line dialer, and it's in Commission Sync. So I want to be really clear, super clear, in our pond. So there's really currently probably, I think, about 11,000 leads in the pond, and they need to dial 100 dials a day in the pond. And there were, there are agents that left. And since that time, I've had people interview for me, and I explained the standard of our team, and they'd be like, oh, so several people have said, oh, I'm just really not into that. And I said, that's okay. No hard feelings.
Yeah.
So I think you could attribute the growth of our team from 2019 to 2020. Really, it boils down to having systems and doing the activities that the agents need to be doing in order to produce more.
Okay.
Every single day.
So that's the biggest change, is you guys really said, hey, these are our systems. This is what you need to do. Prior to that, you were just letting people make whatever daily activities they chose to. Is that right?
So we were working, I will also say this year in 2020, we were working with Julie Youngblood at Metrics Coaching, which was our second go round. We've been with Metrics for quite a while, but it was our second go round when I said we needed actually implementation coaching a second time. And yes, we were running much more of a brokerage model before, which is to say, like, I'll run fast. You want to run fast, you can run next to me. But, most people didn't really choose to run next to me. They just watched me run.
Right.
So that was kind of frustrating.
So you're still in production?
I am.
All right, great. So looking at that, so people started making these dials every day. And obviously dials, in my opinion, what that does is, number one, it gives people, they get off to a morning routine. It gets them in production early, starts their day off right. And it also gives them consistency. And as you consistently make dials, if you're not scheduling appointments, that's really what it's about, is the appointments. But if you're not making appointments, you're going to know, I need to work on my scripts. You're going to know, if you're going on appointments and you're not getting listings, or you're not getting buyers under contract, okay, there's a problem there. What's the disconnect? So how have you guys been able to define those disconnects? How has this impacted the way you take it to the next level and actually coach your team to improve their skills as they go down this road?
So I should say that with our morning meeting, we have scripts right after. So typically we're doing our morning meeting, we're staying on, and I could say it 1,000 times, but only the people that want to be successful will stay on for scripting, which means that not everybody stays on the call.
Okay.
And I'm going to be completely straight about that. And I wish they would, I wish they would. And then everybody has a one-on-one with me once a week. So every Thursday I'm digging into their numbers, and I was using, and I don't know why I did this really honestly. I had created a Google form where I was asking all the same questions that we have in Sisu, which was so silly that I was like kind of going through this, like, how many buyer appointments did you set this week, kind of thing like that. Well, when we got everybody's 2021 goals set up in Sisu, then it was so obvious. The one-on-one is super clear. I just pulled their thing up and, oh, you needed to go on 4 appointments this month and you've been on 2. Let's talk about that.
Mm-hmm. So there's no more managing emotions. You're basically managing their numbers. And
Exactly.
And when I say that, it's not like you're saying, hey, these are the numbers you have to hit. These are numbers that they're coming up with as agents. You're just helping them meet their goals, right?
Exactly.
100%. And in fact, to that point, I mean, really, it's a recruitment issue on our, I won't say issue, but a recruitment goal on our team, so that those agents can hit their numbers that they establish for themselves. I'll hit mine that I set for myself. And, if we don't recruit, then there's a huge gap there.
So I know you guys were in the spreadsheet world for a long, long time before you adopted Sisu. Can you tell us a little bit about what that was like and what the change is there? And this is not something I typically get into in a podcast, but I know that you told me before this that made a major difference in your business. So I'd love to hear it.
Alex, I'm going to let you talk about that for a minute.
Yeah. So, when I joined in 2017, we were still on the spreadsheet. Like I said, we didn't start Sisu until really using Sisu until 2019. So there was, at least for me, 2 years of spreadsheets. And like I said, it was fine. It was all we knew and all we had. And it worked. It basically was a large spreadsheet with it's everything that's on the transaction form in Sisu. It's the address, the sales price, the GCI, when you under contract, closing date, yeah, all the details. And then it had a bunch of other tabs that I honestly don't even remember what they were, but it had total units, total volume. So it was, in a sense, what Sisu is, but a much more manual and not as appealing way to do it.
I'm going to say rudimentary also.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, it would be like if you looked at a prototype of something and then you wish that you had this beautiful visual. And like I was also saying, it was inherently unstable, because one slip of something and all of a sudden your calculations that were supposed to pull into some other tab or something were gone.
Mm-hmm.
And so then there was like that freak attack.
Well, I told you guys, I mean, the way Sisu was born is I jumped in to help Spring with her real estate business when she had 5 agents. She's now over 30 on her team, and she has a brokerage. But I went through the same nightmares, right? Spending time trying to get agents to log, trying to turn that into a visual that was valuable, that would show monthly and yearly numbers and goals. And it was extremely, extremely difficult, which is how we got started. That was before we did any of the tasks, before we did any of the transaction to close process. That was just, we really started with an app that tracked your numbers, and it's evolved from there. So great.
And
So
I was gonna say too, just that I think, especially with teams, when it comes to Sisu, it's just so important to be able to go in and look at any specific data point, whether that's how many appointments an agent set or how many units they're at year to date or their volume year to date. And it's just so easy to, identify, like you were saying earlier, the disconnect of, do you not have enough business? Does it go back to dials, or you're not setting up appointments? You can really find where the break in the chain is through Sisu.
yeah, it's amazing to me, and I still hold a few of my wife's agents accountable. And when I pull up that dashboard, immediately I can just look at it and I can ask them, okay, what's the problem? They can usually identify the problem now, but if not, I have it right in front of me and I can identify it instantly.
Right.
Really. Right.
Right.
So I just met with somebody today that said, yeah, I just want notifications letting me know when each of my agents are below this conversion ratio. And so anyway, that's something we're rolling out here very shortly.
Ooh.
Excited about that.
Ding.
Then you can do it without looking at a dashboard, right?
Right. There's no fun anymore in that. The
So
mystery goes
your
away.
morning meeting, what do you guys do in that? Because I think that's a big thing that shifted your business. My take is that's a big thing that shifted your business this year, is that every morning at 8:30, you were having a morning meeting. What did you do in that meeting?
So our meetings tend to have kind of a rhythm, and Monday is a kind of a weekend, definitely weekend wrap up. Everybody just likes to kind of chime in with, what's new, and talk about, some kind of, for lack of a better phrase, motivation. Tuesdays, Alex rolls out the numbers where we are this week in comparison to goals. And that's kind of just for the team as a whole, not individuals, or this month, I should say, or a year, depending on, where we are in the place of the year. And typically I will talk about some aspect of lead generation, and we often bring it back to the team. Like if we had somebody new that started, I could say to you, Brian, can you give me one piece of advice? Because so-and-so over here is new. I want to hear one piece of advice that you'd say, in terms of lead generation. And then we got the most amazing list from our team. Get outside of your comfort zone, get to your sphere, all these things. And I was like, okay, great. Now that we have 6 amazing pieces of advice, now let's all turn them on ourselves and use them. So we'll use, do a lot, usually once a week, some kind of round robin like that. And then Wednesdays, we always cover our hottest hot. So I'm just going to say to you, Alex, who's your hottest hot?
Bob Smith, so.
Okay, and where's the lead from?
From Sync.
From Sync. Okay, great. So that's a paid lead.
Yep.
Great. So Brian, when I'm doing that, I'm asking who their hottest hot is. I don't want to hear 10. I have 10 people in my pipeline, who their hottest hot is that they might close this week. And I want to know where that lead is from. I'm happy for them if it's their sphere, but I'm also really want people to know that there's a lot of paid leads in the system. And it's important to me for people to know that I'm paying my money for leads for them. So I want, those paid lead sources to be front and center, that's where those leads come from.
So we do that call as a team, Monday, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays we're off. And then that's
Thursdays are one-on-one with me. Sorry.
Thursdays
are one-on-one days.
Yeah.
So let's dive into the one-on-one while we're at that. I know you said it's pretty much numbers based, but how long do you meet with each of your agents?
So I have planned for 15-minute meetings, but I also have a 10-minute buffer because I still need time in between people, and it usually ends up taking about 20 minutes. I'm typically asking each person what they're reading or into or listening, what podcasts they're listening to or whatever, in order to self-educate. And if it's nothing, then I'm like, okay, well, let's think of something that might be really cool to look at this week.
I like that. So you're promoting growth first and foremost.
Yeah, that's one of my very first questions is, what are you reading or listening to, watching? Listen, I don't care if you tell me you're watching whatever the newest Netflix series is. That's not the point. The point is just that you're into something, I want people to have, be into something. And I'm, in order to self-educate, then we'll get into their numbers, pendings, this, that. Then I always ask, and this is a Julie Youngblood, Brian Gubernick question for sure, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 7 being average, or let me back up for that question. I always ask this question like this. Our team standards is 100 dials a day, with 7 being average. On a scale of 1 to 10, where would you place yourself? Oh, 7. Okay.
You say you can't say 7?
You can say 7. You can give me a 10. If you dial more than 500 people this week, then awesome. You're more than 7. But if you give yourself a 5, then I want to know why. And then I'm going to tell you, I would probably say that and I usually give more, unless it's something really epic. Like if somebody says I'm a 7, I'm going to go like, I know you worked really hard on scripts this week, so I'm probably going to put you at an 8. Like I'm trying to bolster, not to beat people down.
Yeah, right.
And then after we've talked about lead generation, I always close with, I'm here. How can I support you in your efforts? What do you need from us?
Yeah, that's great. Okay. Geez, I have a lot of stuff I want to ask you guys. I want to talk about marketing for a minute, because when I looked at your materials online, you talk about marketing quite a bit. Like, do you have an in-house person that does marketing, and that's why you guys have this niche marketing going on? Or
when you say niche marketing,
tell me,
well, you tell me what you're referring to specifically, and then I'll
Well, I bounced around the internet looking at different things about your team prior to coming online with you guys. And I saw several things that talked about marketing. And so I assume that you have your own marketing person that sets you apart as far as what you're doing for your for your clients.
Got it. So the answer is yes. And this was also another reason I actually believe that we grew in terms of literal dollars and cents, is that I personally really like the marketing side. I think a lot of realtors do. I just think it's cool and I think it's interesting. And I would find myself running off down these rabbit holes of various things. I mean, now we're all have to figure out what Clubhouse is, for instance, whatever it is, right? So you're like, oh my God, another one. So what I realized is that I needed to bring somebody on that I could literally hand every single project over to. And it took a little while. He will tell you the same thing, that the person I brought on, he and I took a little while to figure out how to communicate best together. And then I really feel like I was able to just offload almost every single aspect of just like brand awareness.
So he's focusing on getting your brand out there, which is
brand awareness, and also making sure just the consistency, is there. And that's hard, sphere marketing to our database, making sure there's, COVID appropriate, but whatever events for our database, and making, just.
Most small businesses do not have consistent branding and branding guidelines. So
Right.
He's making sure you're hitting on that.
Yes.
And I'll add too, before we had our in-house marketing guy, Shoshana loves marketing. She loves, doing Facebook Live and all this kinds of stuff. And the one thing I hear more than anything else with agents, when, you start producing more and more, is you start losing time. And that's what, Shoshana has, her biggest problem is that she's producing so much. Last year, she accounted for 48, I want to say, homes out of the 166. So that falls into the consistency. She wanted to be doing the marketing, but she doesn't have the time for it. And that's why we brought in the in-house marketing on top of, managing the website, managing social media, managing, all these different branding, all these different aspects that an agent that's producing at that level just can't do consistently.
Okay. Makes sense. So I also see, Shoshana, that you do market updates.
Yes.
Tell me about the importance of market updates. One of the things I want to know is you were the top producer, if you will, top team, top agent in 2 different cities, suburbs. How did you do that? Were you farming? Is it the market updates? Is it the marketing? How are you getting these areas that you're, focused on, instead of driving, I don't know, 2 hours to some of your, meetings?
If you've been enjoying Grit, please help us continue to grow the channel by leaving a 5-star review and sharing it with a friend. Now back to Grit.
I have okay, first of all, Cleveland is a funny thing. We have a city of Cleveland, right? It's not that big geographically. And we have a million little cities that make up greater Cleveland. So I'm sure there's other cities. I'm sure there's other metropolises like that in America, 100%. So every single little city here has its own little mayor, its own little school district, its own little everything. It's just really something.
Mm-hmm.
So the niche market, I started out working in a very niche market. I'm Jewish, and I ended up working with a lot of Orthodox Jewish clients. And that was a niche market that I was really strong in. And there's a geographic center there, so that fair housing laws aside, just ended up being some areas I personally ended up working in. It's also where I live. Now, that having been said, there's my special little Facebook hacks that I love. So that when I do market updates, if I'm doing a market update, and it's too long to get into here, but whatever, I can push them out just to that market. Now, you might say to me, well, how limited? If you're only going to market to city A and push yourself out to city A, well, the number of messages I get back from people saying, I always see you, or I see you everywhere. And I just call it, like, jokingly, the I see you everywhere effect. They don't see me everywhere. It's because I've made sure that they see me everywhere. So
by drilling down and just doing it in a smaller community, people are more likely to see it. Is
For
that
sure.
the
And I
message?
get, I mean, I will friend anybody in those cities. Like literally I'll go in their Facebook groups of those cities and, I'm friending people. And they're like, do I know you? And I say, I sell a lot of real estate in the area and I like to keep in touch with people. I tell the truth,
Yeah.
and then that equals a lot of business. So a lot of my team agents will drive and drive and drive, and that's okay. Some people don't mind that. And we make jokes, tell people on our team all the time, like, oh my God, we let Shoshana out of the city limits, like, like,
So you're not sending any mailers out to their address or postcards. You are 100% doing that via Facebook.
yeah, Facebook and I love Instagram as well. But
Okay.
the Instagram thing for me personally has been a longer term game, but it's something I like continually chipping away at.
Yeah. Is it harder to target? I mean,
Wait, Brian, can I back up and say that in terms of mailers, in my specific neighborhood where I sell a lot, I do send out just sold cards, but that's it.
okay.
I'm not farming, but I am sending out 50 radius cards.
Just solds. Okay.
Mhm.
Only 50.
Mhm.
Okay. Great. I also noticed that you guys you call it concierge level services. Tell me what you mean by that, because
Yeah, Alex.
to me
I'll
that means something. I want to know what that means to you guys, because you have those.
We'll have to update that. No, I'm kidding. I think when you say concierge, the first thing that came to mind is when I started on the team in 2017, I was hired on and my title was listing concierge was my title when they hired me. So I was working with sellers from the time they listed the home to selling the home. And that just came with getting the level of service unlike anyone else in the area, coming up with touch plans, making sure sellers were informed, and keeping just clients updated. Yeah, just doing whatever it takes to accommodate and to that you would expect from, you hear these stories about Nordstrom's and Ritz-Carlton, like that level of service from a real estate perspective that not a lot of other agents or teams provide.
So making sure that just all along the way, they know what to expect. They know they're taken care of. They know after the fact, you're doing a survey or something after the fact to see how their experience was, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, always asking for, yeah, go ahead, Shoshana.
No, I was just going to say, besides that, also, we have pretty strict systems of city violations in our area. And Alex has been literally magical at getting tradesmen to come out to take care of city violations that, sellers are like, there's nobody that will come out right now. It's winter and nobody will come. So Alex on the phone, like 2 minutes later, he's got some, 3 quotes and people actually showing up at the door, actually wanting the business.
Oh, that's great.
So that's
Alex, look at you.
It's just, it's just customer service. And, if you provide a high level of service, people are going to want to use you again. They're going to refer you. And that's, bringing more business to the team. And so that's what the concierge level service came from.
Okay. So Alex, you're the systems guy. What technologies, I know you use Sync, what technologies do you use in your business?
Yeah. So we've been really hyper focused, even just in the last few weeks, on limiting our systems. We've had spreadsheets we were using a bunch of things, and there's a lot of duplication and repetition in our system. So now we've really gotten it down to Sync for lead generation and lead follow-up. That's where everything starts. That's where dials and contacts come from. Then we're using Sisu. It's almost, if you think about it, as you elevate or graduate from Sync to Sisu as soon as you set the appointment, and that takes you through closing. So we have Sync, and then we have Sisu, and then we have Dotloop for our, document management. Those are like the big 3.
Our past clients are living in Command, and we're using a Mojo dialer. If you've earned the right to dial in Mojo, then you can use the triple line dialer the next week.
Okay.
Right.
And so Mojo,
Yes.
Mojo's part of Sync though, right?
No, it's its own.
Okay. So Mojo flowing into Sync, flowing into Sisu, flowing into Dotloop. So you said Sync is everything up to the appointment. I mean, that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
Use Sync. Is that what you tell your agents? Use Sync up until
Start
the
with
appointment
Sync.
gets set, and then from the setting of the appointment to closing, use Sisu?
Yeah, so we actually just had a new agent start with the team last Monday, and just yesterday I was teaching her the systems, and that's how I'm going to be doing it as long as, for the foreseeable future, at least, is, all of our leads, our entire database, they're coming in through Sync. That's how people are finding us. That's how they're inquiring about homes. So we capture them through sync.
Mhm.
Once our agents are dialing them, contacting them, and so on, eventually they're going to set an appointment. Once they set the appointment, we have an integration through Zapier with Sync and Sisu, where they add the Sisu label appointment set, so that transfers from Sync to Sisu. And then they'll live in Sisu from that point on. So once you set the appointment, it's almost like this feeling like, I got this client to Sisu, I set the appointment, they're in Sisu now. It's almost like a gratifying feeling.
Yeah, it's a graduation basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I don't know if you guys know this, we're working on a direct integration with Sync right now.
Yay.
Expect that to be completed in the next 30 days. So excited about that.
Cool.
Super excited.
Just out of curiosity, what are you guys actually pulling in? Are you pulling in the activities they're tracking or just the client information?
We are pulling in dials and conversations. Yeah, we're pulling in.
You are pulling in activities and you're
We
pulling
are,
in.
although I will put in a little plug that I don't know. I've been around and around and around about this with, you have a wonderful young man who works for you, whose name I can't remember right now. I'm embarrassed. Is it Zach? Do you have a Zach?
Zach,
Anyway,
I
yeah.
do have a Zach.
Yep, and he and I've had a lot of conversations about getting Sync and Sisu dial numbers to line up, because we can't quite figure out why numbers in one system aren't the same as in the other.
I'll
let you guys figure that out.
So you've been working on that in Zapier. You will be able to forget about that in the very near future.
That's
And
awesome.
they all will be done through a direct integration and will line up.
Perfect. Okay.
So anyway, okay. What would you say, Shoshana, is the one thing that really sets you guys apart?
Us.
Yeah, tell me more.
I don't know.
That's a good answer. Tell me more.
Okay, so what sets us apart? Oh God. Okay, what sets us apart? We're family-based. I mean, I work with my son. We are in our own office outside of the brokerage, and we are a really awesome, amazing place, A, for agents to come to work, and B, for clients to do business with. I mean, I just say, like, our reviews speak for themselves. We love people, and people then in effect love working with us. And I don't mean to say that that's not an ego piece. That's just like, really, truly, I love working with people. I just love pulling people apart and figuring out what they're about. And I feel like the give back from the clients is that's really appreciated.
Okay, awesome. Are you guys back in the office now? Have you been in the office?
Depends on who.
So some people are in the office, some are at home. Is that
Correct.
Yeah.
depending on what they want to do?
I was just looking for my mask. We're masked outside of our desks. We're masked in our office. So, but only not at most. A lot of people are not in office.
I mean, I've found with real estate, a lot of people are in the office because you kind of have to be. But
Right.
yeah. Okay.
And I would
Hey,
say,
Brian, I don't know if you have time. I just want to say 1 second before, as we're starting to wrap, I just want to walk over here and show you, and I know I have to flip the thing here. This is our office is a converted warehouse. And if you can see behind me over my shoulder, I'm walking towards our dashboard.
display, yeah.
Your dashboard's there.
It mattered so much for us to have it hanging on our wall like that.
Yeah, I love it.
So just super cool.
And for me, what sets us apart, I would say, is number one, our culture. We have a very specific culture, and two would be our team standards. We've talked to a lot of people, like Shoshana said, in terms of trying to recruit agents, and we have standards. We have time blocking. We have things in place to try to help people achieve their goals. And it's kind of like you're with us or you're not, but we set that standard up front, and we have the systems in place too. Just that's our value to agents.
Yeah, definitely. You have the systems in place. So before we jump into, I have a couple just personal questions for you guys. Is there anything else you want to share? Like one piece of advice you'd give to anybody trying to build a team?
Don't ignore your database.
Know your database?
Don't ignore it. Yeah, don't ignore your database.
Don't ignore it.
That's my biggest piece of advice.
I would say don't try to do everything. Try to do a few things really well.
Good. Switching gears a little bit, something you said, Shoshana, you want to find out what are they listening to, what podcasts, what shows are they watching, what books are they reading? What is like the thing that you would want to share that people should be out listening to as far as a podcast or reading as a book? Like what
It's
is,
so hard. There's so many. Okay. So
I mean, just maybe what's your favorite source of learning for people out there?
Oh, my favorite personal source is podcasts.
And what are some of your favorite podcasts?
Well, there was a time I totally dug into Tom Ferry and those kinds of leading real estate podcasts. The one thing I will say is I came in probably every day and said, I know what we should really be doing, and then want to switch gears, into something else. So there is this fine line. But I mean, for entertainment, the rewatchables, which is long as could be, the long form podcast is fun. I've been listening to a podcast called Food Psychology that I love. I love some of the vegan chef podcasts. I like books. I love, oh my gosh, Wait, the Popcast. If you're into pop music, there's, reviews of music, all kind of good things. There's a million things to learn. The problem is not enough time to learn everything.
I know. I love hearing things. I actually spoke with somebody on the last podcast who said, they actually listen to Harvard Business Review and all these, Ivy League schools have these podcasts. I was unaware of that.
The BBC, it's like, forget that you ever went to school because you weren't listening when you were a kid, but now you can go back and listen to the BBC on all these like world events and you're like, oh, that's what that was?
Yeah, exactly. Alex, anything you want to share on that?
I don't do a ton of podcasts or reading or TV, but I really enjoy webinars, especially since COVID, all these Zoom things. It can be difficult, especially if they're like all day things. But, there was a KW fall mastermind. There was a Sisu fall mastermind over the course of a couple of days that I listened in on. I think it's just, I don't want to say what's nice about COVID, but it allowed me to kind of expand my world and learn from all these different agents and get all these different perspectives. I like lab code agents. I watch some of their videos. I get all their emails and just learning what different agents in different cities are doing and growing their business and different opportunities and, a lot of systems, because that's, where I'm at in the business, learning about different systems that are out there and what people are using and always trying just to apply that to our business to grow.
I'm going to throw in one other thing before I interrupt you, is to say that I also, when you asked what's special about our team, I'm going to say that like really and truly, I'm the team mom in like every single respect. I have a really young team on the whole. And I'm personally a mom of 6 kids and I have a lot of grandkids as well. And I'm very, very blessed in that way. And so I really, I feel like, kind of also bring that mom energy to the team, and like it or not like it, you guys have to listen to mom. So
great. So you have a bunch of young, just go-getters that want to conquer the world, and you're there for them.
Yes.
That's great. The last thing I really wanted to ask you guys, well, I have 2 more questions. One is, I never did find out from you guys, are you actually using Sisu for task management?
Yes, I'm the main one using it for task management. I was using Folio by Amitree, if you're familiar with that, for the longest time, which got us by. But now with Sisu, I put all of my tasks in there, and that's how I'm getting through every transaction. It's much more automated. I love being able to do, to check off, is it to do, in progress, or done, being able to change dates around, super easy. And it really keeps me on track. It's much more efficient.
Can you explain how you work with the VA with that too?
Sure. So we do have a virtual assistant, and so there's some tasks. I have the bulk of the tasks in terms of like what happens in the transaction with title companies and lenders and touching base with clients. And our virtual assistant, she has some other, miscellaneous tasks, like make sure you close it out in Zillow and some more of the third party type stuff. But she doesn't really have much interaction with the transaction itself. She's just more of a support to the team and to me.
So just how Shoshana is able to manage the sales team through Sisu, you're able to manage your VA team through the Sisu tasks.
Right, and it's so nice. We have in Sisu, we have, I think, 5 task lists. So I have a buyer contract to close, seller contract to close, seller pre-listing, seller listing to under contract, buyer post-closing, and seller post-closing for our post-closing plan, to get reviews and that kind of stuff. And what's really nice is within each of those task lists, I can assign tasks as a template to agents and to our VA so that every transaction is the same, gets the same treatment and gets the same task.
Great. I'm thrilled to hear you guys are using that and enjoying it. What do you guys, back to personal stuff, what do you guys like to do in your personal time? Like, what's your favorite thing to do out there when you have some time?
Oh, Alex, you go first. You're younger.
I mean, pre-COVID, I like to travel and go to, different cities and that kind of stuff. And, go out and, on the weekends and whatnot. I was going to say the casino. I like the casino. I'm not like a gambler, but I don't know, just,
Well, if you don't like to gamble, what do you like the casino for? Is that
no, I shouldn't say like I love gambling. I enjoy gambling, but it's not a frequent thing.
You play cards, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty low key.
Shoshana, what about you?
And me, I'm happy whenever those grandkids are over at my house and it's a big crazy hoopla and everything becomes a huge chaotic mess. That's my kind of fun. Although I don't know what your climate is like, Brian, but we got the award in Cleveland of being the 5th gloomiest city in America. So literally this weekend, it's a long weekend, and I was like, I wish we could get on an airplane to Florida so badly. This COVID thing can really keep you in the gloomy city, but
that was my last question. Where is it you love to travel? Where's your favorite place to go? And it sounds like it's Florida.
Me, I'm California. I'm from the West Coast, so I actually we go to California a lot to see our family, and that's just someplace. I could go to San Diego to see my mom any day of the week.
So I saw you went to UCLA. So what took you to Cleveland?
My husband got a job here.
Okay.
But we've been here for like 20 years now. So now Cleveland is home for us.
So I used to love to go to California as well, but now it's shut down. So now I don't go there. I go other places.
It's crazy.
Alex, what about you? You said you're not traveling now, but where do you like to go when you travel?
I like California. I have a sister in California. I like going to new cities that I've never been before. I've been to Austin, Texas, which is a really cool city. I had a layover in Salt Lake once. It looked really cool, but that's as much as I've been in Salt Lake.
But you didn't get out of the airport?
I didn't even get out of the airplane.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Brian, we got Alex a Airbnb gift card for his birthday because we're trying to get him to go. I can't even use it right now,
though. Yeah.
You still can use it.
I guess I could. I'll use it.
Some people won't travel right now. I haven't traveled a ton since COVID, but I started traveling again a few months ago. And tell you what, I've never seen the airport, the airplanes, everything so clean.
Yeah.
And, in the plane, there's a space between you and whoever's sitting next to you. I mean, it's better than it's ever been. Less risky than it's ever been, in my opinion.
I will say, my other hobbies that I failed to mention are just what I like. I'm a huge Cleveland sports fan. So Cavs, Indians, and Browns. I love watching, going to games, that kind of stuff.
Well, good. I'll make sure and zoom in on that Kyrie.
Yeah, yeah. Tell him I say hi if you see him.
Yeah. So anyway, you guys, well, thank you so much for joining today. If people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way to get a hold of you if people have questions for you and want to follow up with you?
I can definitely find me on Instagram or Facebook, or always call me 216-255-7377.
Okay. Well, you guys, thanks so much for being on the show today. Thanks, really enjoyed our time together. And for you listeners, don't forget to go hit the subscribe button. That will allow you to get notified when these new shows come out every week, which are typically on Tuesdays. And in addition to that, if you could give us a review, we would love to get a review, and that will help us get more great guests that you and I can learn from. So thanks again, you guys. We'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you. Take it easy.
Thank you for joining us on our podcast. If you have an interest in a free 7-day trial of Sisu, go to sisu.co, sisu.co. Make sure that you use the coupon code GRIT, that's GRIT, to waive all your setup fees and receive a 10% discount on your subscription. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast and want to subscribe, search GRIT, the Real Estate Growth Mindset, on iTunes, Spotify, or Podbean. And with that, we'll catch you next time. Take care.